say? Her name is Faith.
Have you heard of Lily Gaddis, the most hated woman on the internet?
Shorty tripping.
Let's get into it. She barely's made a name for herself on TikTok as a trad wife influencer.
What's a trad wife?
Someone that believes in traditional American values, essentially Harrison Butker's dream girl.
So she's a Benedictine alumnus. Shout out to those ladies, but y'all deserve better for yourselves.
You don't want a trad wife?
No, I want my wife to have goals and aspirations.
She's been on TikTok for 4 years. Even with this baiting content, she's only amassed 60,000 followers. Not to toot our own horn, but that shit is child's play.
Come on, son, we do that in our sleep.
So this latest video, she's seen cooking, pouring far too much olive oil on her chicken.
Oh God, she probably burnt it.
And she is upset that women have been labeled as gold diggers.
Not all women are gold diggers, just the gold diggers.
She says, you might have heard these sources from illegal immigrants or whores.
What the fuck? What?
But they're the exception, and I'm the rule.
What is she talking about? And who is she saying this to? The algorithm?
She says, most women I know are married to broke ass.
No.
Just straight up lets it fly off.
She said it?
With authority, she said it.
With confidence. First of all, she's out here cooking chicken in this video too.
Unseasoned.
You have no business doing cooking content whatsoever.
So she follows up with an apology. She says, you know what? I've done some deep dive research, some soul searching, and at the end of the day, I don't see anything that I did is wrong.
So she didn't apologize, she doubled down.
And then it cuts to an interstitial saying, this is war.
Why do white people love war? I swear to God. You always want to fucking start some sort of war.
Every person over 60 is obsessed with World War II. Who cares?
Unbelievable.
Her TikTok account gets banned.
Thank you, TikTok. Finally doing something right.
She is fired from her job where she was working in business development at an assisted living home for the elderly run by primarily a black woman.
Wait, so she worked for a black-owned business, so she thought that gave her the right? The audacity? See, this is the type of woman I wouldn't trust around my grandma if she was living in the home like that. Takes her jello and slaps her around when nobody's looking.
Her LinkedIn page is also deleted. The horror.
No more endorsements? Damn it!
Where she listed her skill set as a graphic designer.
So you wanted to be a homemaker, Betty Crocker. Definitely needs Harrison Butker and his Papa Dog.
She's known to take bathroom selfies with a gun holster on her pocket.
So she got that thing on her. Sometimes I try to get into the mind of an idiot. I just can't go all the way there.
Others have resurfaced some of her old content.
Oh God, what do we got?
She calls out the nerds in high school. The ones from the band. The ones who like anime. The ones that she didn't hang out with. That these nerds are all grown up now and in positions of power.
That's true to a certain extent.
The Zuckerbergs of the world. Those fucking nerds.
Oh my God. Peaked in high school, bitch, and you mad at the people who actually made something of their lives?
These nerds have a chip on their shoulder from back in the day. They want revenge on the normies.
It's the least normal people that refer to themselves as normies.
You gonna disrespect Mr. Zuckerberg?
First of all, it is fairly easy to make fun of Mark Zuckerberg for a lot of things. But for him being nerdy, that's what's made him successful.
You can make fun of him hunting his own meat, looking like a mime on the water.
MMA for no reason.
Stop being scared and put the nerds back in their place.
Sounds like a fucking bully from a Saved by the Bell episode.
She's like racist Regina George. If you're talking about nerds, the band kids are fucking.
Listen, everybody in high school is having fun in their own ways, except for the times where you normies are fucking treating them like assholes. You guys peaked in high school and then you mad at them for taking over the world. You should have paid attention a little bit more in chemistry class.
Mad at Zuckerberg. He's one of the reasons that you have this fugazi platform that you currently have.
Facebook is really the spot for people who think like you. You're so stupid.
Now, these conservative right-wing news stations. So this girl got fired off of one word? What's wrong with society today?
White people love war and hate consequences.
White people love saying, oh, what about the First Amendment? Bitch, you wasn't arrested.
You could say whatever you want, but we also have a right to call you a scumbag moron, too.
Here's my 3 criteria for men. Number 1, you're not a pussy.
Jesus.
Number 2, you'll shoot a motherfucker if they break in the home.
Again, with the war and the shooting and the bloodshed. What is good with you?
She said, anyone that plays the victim card, do you realize you live in the USA?
She's speaking out of both sides of her mouth then.
She said, newsflash, dumbass. Everyone's gone through something.
Peloton class being overbooked is not the same what everybody else went through, okay?
Is she gonna make a career for herself off of this?
There is certainly a lane for stupid motherfuckers in America. It's really the land of the free and the home of the dumb. Shout out to the owner of the nursing home who got rid of her ass. You're the real hero in this story. Salute!
Remember this lady that just totally said the N-word unprovoked so easily too, like she sings it every day most likely? Yeah, she was hella fired. Hella fired. Pause to read. My favorite part about this whole post is that it says, we are owned and operated by an African-American female and are an immigrant-owned business and handled the situation as quickly as we could. That fucking buffoon really said the N-word while working for a black woman-owned business. The poetry writes itself at this point, like I can't. I'm trying to picture as soon as they found this out, There was no question. They didn't even check in with HR. They just said, bye, bitch. Bye.
On cue, as I predicted yesterday, the emotional racketeering has already started. Oh, this is what I was planning on doing all along. She's trying to save face and make it look like this was strategic, but this was anything but strategic. Because if her social media over the last 4 years has shown us anything, she has no strategy. The audience that she wants to amass is the same kind of audience that Pearl has. But again, Pearl is strategic and she knows where to draw the line and what to say and what not to say. She toes that line constantly, and that's why her audience loves her. So Pearl's audience doesn't really care about her. They already have a Pearl. Who's left to pick off the remains? Oh, that would be the far right. And while she's on Twitter following them and responding favorably, girl is not ready for that. Because it's one thing to be an edgelord in your kitchen, wearing an apron and baking cookies. But it's a whole different ballgame to find yourself the center of attention from the alt-right movement. Because what she did is she tried to dip her toe in the shallow end and she fell right into the deep end. In other words, I think her mouth wrote some checks that her ass can't cash. I would say that is where her downfall is going to be, because eventually they're going to realize what the moderate conservatives already know, that she is all talk and just looking for attention. Just like I predicted yesterday, her lack of strategy is going to be her downfall. Yeah, Great Value Pearl got fired and she got banned from TikTok, but I promise you that's the least of her worries. Because the thing is she's going viral everywhere, not just on TikTok, including Twitter and Instagram. From an audience perspective, she's trying to appeal to the same audience that Pearl appeals to, which is conservatives. But there are a whole spectrum of conservatives, right? An interesting thing that I'm noticing is the more moderate conservatives are not interested in her. A lot of their commentary is that she just seems to be attention seeking. And as you can see from her tweet yesterday, she's feeling that because she's not getting the open arms reception she was expecting from that particular demographic of conservatives. Oh, but over on X, it's a completely different ballgame, and she's being welcomed with open arms by the likes of the Proud Boys and the Aryan HQ. Going back to what I said yesterday, being blocked on TikTok and being fired is not her downfall. What I said in my video yesterday is that the downfall with all of these wannabe influencers with no strategy tends to come from their own audience, because she's already being called out for the fact that just a few years ago she had completely different views and was squawking off about the other side. And people are starting to say, doesn't make sense that in just a few years you've done a complete about face in your ideology. And while it's possible, I mean, people change, of course, this does align with what I was saying yesterday in the fact that over a 4-year period, she had only amassed 60,000 followers on TikTok, which is a really slow growth. So it's more likely that, again, like wannabe influencers, she was throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. This stuck, and now she's going with it because this that's sticking is giving her a lot more attention, which is what she wanted, than her ideology of just a few years ago. And more moderate conservatives are seeing through that.
Hello. Okay, I had to switch positions.
I can't chat. I can read it, but I can't join in unless I close my browser, and I'm not doing that.
Oh, that's fine. I'll try to compose that, but I had to switch position. Pam already knows this. I somehow injured myself. I don't know how. Okay. And I was sitting straight up, but it's while that was running, my leg was like, I guess what you not finna do.
Our lives are very similar in so many ways.
And I really don't know how I hurt myself. I walked to the kitchen. I walked upstairs. I don't know what I did.
One time I literally, there's a whole, your back hurts, but then there's throwing your back out where you literally can't stand up. It's so painful. And it takes like days to get better. I did that opening the oven.
Yeah.
Not picking up something from the oven, opening.
I jacked up my back once while putting together my collapsible cane.
Oh, remember there was a time back on my TikTok where I had like 3 in a row where I did something to my foot, and then I cut my hand. No, I burned my hand, and then I had a black eye. And I don't remember. They were like 3, like all in like a day and a half.
Yeah, thus
like,
far this week, I broke half of a tooth over here, chipped a tooth back here. That's why I'm a little swollen here, and I don't know what to my leg, but I don't know. But we have, as quite a few people have dubbed her, Great Value Pearl. Now, I did not see the video where she said the N-word. My introduction to that young lady, GVP, is how I'm going to refer to her, was her talking about nerds and normies and
That's
stuff
apparently
like
really
that.
old content.
And I was
Not
just
really
like,
old, it's old.
yeah, and I was just like, that's weird, but I know some people who are stuck in that high school realm. So I was like, maybe that's just what it was. And I'm like, I'll just let it go. And then I saw her. Now, we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday over here. And I said I wanted confirmation that she was really, truly fired because she was scrambling. And when I looked over on Twitter, it seemed like she was just still antagonizing people.
Yeah.
So we got the confirmation that she was fired.
Yep.
But she really does not. She kind of reminds me of Hannah.
Yes, that's who I was going to say. More than Pearl, she reminds me of Hannah.
Because
there's a lane she's trying to drive down, but she's not even on the highway, right? And she's, well, she is, but she's going from wall to wall to wall to wall. You know, she's
and I say she's GVP because after that gentleman came out, when so many people were like, well, how come you all don't pick Pearl? Pearl says everything that you all want. And people focused on the fact that he said that she was too masculine and they assumed physically. But I'm like, okay, conventionally, she's not the most attractive, but Tiana Taylor isn't conventionally attractive. And millions of people agree that she's sexy as shit. So that's not the thing.
One of the sexiest women in the world is Grace Jones.
Yeah. And my thing is, people miss the fact that when he was talking about she's too masculine, Pearl is pulling a Beyonce. Let me explain. Pearl is saying, don't do this as a woman. Be this way as a woman, as she does the opposite. Pearl is not married. She has no children. She's not a stay-at-home wife. She doesn't come from a stay-at-home mother or wife. She's being very boisterous and vocal and assertive. She's not meek or submissive. And I say she's like Beyonce because Beyonce is always making single lady anthems and people equate that to her real life.
Right.
Remembering that she's an artist, and Beyonce will have you out here cussing out your boss, breaking up with your man, and then crying like, "Why am I alone?" That is Pearl. Pearl knows this.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah. And GVP is like, well, I'm more attractive. This didn't work. That didn't work. I want the clout. I really don't want to work a 9 to 5. Let me rage bait and get on the radar with these because this is the same type of person who watched the older millennial and all these other people, Officer Nate, rise, and they're able to sustain themselves because of the monetization on there. What she wasn't banking on was, sweetheart, you're a woman. They want you to stand on business. They want you to do more than just say it online.
Kelly, the Fox News anchor, is the Megyn Kelly. Right? Talk about all the traditional things, right? Van Susteren, talk about all the traditional things, but don't do it. Hold your own in the fucking boardroom. And these men have a submission kink, period, just an existence. And so they want that strong woman. They just don't want to say they do.
Because it's just like guys that protest out of the blue about the woman with the nails and the makeup. Oh, I can't stand women. I prefer a woman that's all natural. I didn't ask you that because that's really what they desire. But what they could get was the woman who really doesn't want to wear makeup, who really doesn't want to get her nails done, which is fine. But they're not really attracted to her. They don't want to be alone. So that's why they're so boisterous about, I don't like this, I don't like that. Because if you go and see who they follow on social media, because just like when I always have pick-me's come after me, well, the real men like this and real men are eating out of my fucking fingers, honey.
When my
because
older
at
kids,
because they fail to realize at the end of the day, when these men are talking about they want to go 50-50, everybody's looking at bills. They're saying they want to go 50-50 because they're
Mhm.
tired of the days that if they miss a day of work or they get injured or God forbid they have a
Yep.
disability where they can no longer go to work, they're tired of ending up outside homeless because they have a woman who has no idea how to do shit but sit around and wait for you to tell her what the fuck to do.
And that's what these women think a trad wife is. But shit, the trad wives I knew and grew up around ran the home, made sure the bills got paid, juggled the bills when they couldn't afford them all, made sure food was on the table, made sure he had a shirt to wear to work and pants to wear to work every day because they weren't working. So that's what they could contribute and they were good at, or it's what they wanted to do, right? Which is fine.
Well,
If
see, the
it's
thing about it is, I always say either you're going to work outside the home or inside the home because both of them are a job. One of them is an unpaid career, and one of them can be a career or it can be a job. And I'm talking about when you work outside the home, that can be a career, it can be a job. But when you work inside the home, that is an unpaid 24-hour career. And traditional wives were the CEOs, COOs, and CFOs of the family. They kept it going. They put together the budget and gave that man an allowance from his own check. They were the ones that paid the insurance and knew where everything was at. They were negotiating with the mailman, the milkman, the paper boy, everything. They were the ones getting lower rates. They were the ones dealing with the door-to-door salesman and the insurance agents, making sure they got the best rates possible. They were the ones getting everybody to the doctor's appointments and everything else.
And we haven't added the layer of children yet, right? Because that's a cooperative effort.
And for everybody who thinks that a trad wife is, oh, she's baking everything from scratch. No, bitch, that's a Little House on the Prairie wife. That's a farmer's wife because she didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Trad wives came around in a time where they were encasing everything in fucking Jello because it was convenient, it would preserve it, and they could make one meal for a couple days and skate through. Trad wives came around with the advent of TV dinners that went in the oven.
Convenience foods. Absolutely.
Right.
I grew up in it. I grew up in
You're
it.
not sitting there making everything from scratch because, honey, when you're running a full-blown household every day, all day, without help, without a nanny, a maid, you don't have time.
No.
You don't have time.
It's interesting because, I mean, I've told you the story before. I had a nanny until I was 4. And then when we moved from El Paso to Austin, we had a housekeeper that came once a week or twice a week. My mom had it really freaking easy. And then I come along, and when I have my son, I'm in school when I had Roth. I was studying lasers and laser physics, and when I met Robert, and I wanted to stay home. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted my career eventually. I still wanted to finish my education and all those things, but until he started school, I wanted to stay home. And Robert had a trust. And so I was able to for a year. Trusts don't last forever. And we were dumb. When he got it, he was dumb. He went out and bought a Porsche and a truck and a boat and a trailer, and we bought a house and, all those things. And when I was pregnant with Caitlin, he came home one day from work. He was traveling, doing construction. He came home. He had a construction company. He said, how do you feel about being really poor for a couple of years? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, I want to go back to school. So that's what we did, right? But it was always a joint effort. But when we first got together and he was traveling and he wasn't home to help me figure out the logistics of cleaning a house, I could do all the bills. I could do all of that stuff. But cleaning a house, as I told you how I grew up, I didn't have a clue the amount of organization and prioritization and do this before you do that, and that needs to be done, and this needs to be done once a week, and how you want to clean off the countertops before you mop the floors, and just this on top of thing. And he came home from work one time and I was bawling. I was sitting in the corner of the house. Roth was a toddler. The house was a disaster. I was just bawling. He's like, what is wrong? I said, I don't know what to do. And you have to come home to this. And he's like, just pick a corner and start.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? But everything has always been a partnership, right? There was a point where he came home and he said, look, I work 12 hours a day. And I know Roth is a full-time job, and I'm perfectly willing when I'm here to help, but I need you to put in a few hours every day on the house, which was fair. Because I literally wasn't doing shit because I didn't know what to do. Right?
Yeah, and here's another aspect that I think people don't realize. A lot of the white trad wives back then mastered the art of fooling their husbands. And where y'all go crazy, y'all do realize a lot of these trad wives and their husbands didn't live in the same house or even in the same county for a while. There were wives that were like, I'm glad you got this promotion. I'm not moving. I like this house. It wasn't about the kids' schooling. It wasn't about friends. She got a house that made her feel better than somebody in her family. And they would live apart for years. And these women wasn't doing shit.
No.
Then all of a sudden the husbands came home and I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know how to do this. Bitch, you've only ever been a housewife.
With a housekeeper, with a nanny, with a yard team, with all these things, right?
And then even those that didn't have all of that, they weren't doing the work. They had their children doing it. And then when their husbands moved in after the kids were all gone, because the husband was like, oh, kids are gone, I could retire. And I don't know what to, because she never did it. She had this man duped.
But you want to know how I know they know what to do? Because my mom lived that life, right? We were wealthy. We had all this stuff. About 3 years before my dad died, he started getting sick. My mom went back and earned 2 masters and went back to work in that 3 years and built a career because she knew he was going to die. We knew he was going to die. She had been capable all along.
Oh yeah, and they and a lot of these trad wives, when people bring up the abuse, and they're like, but these women didn't leave. Okay, here's the thing. First of all, y'all don't call me a victim blamer because I'm not. I'm not shaming a victim. I'm not blaming a victim. I'm bringing you the history behind it. Okay, there are women who didn't leave because they were financially abusing the men.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because there were women that were willing to take a bop on the head. Plus, this is the time where they could go into the doctor's office and just get barbiturates like Tic Tacs.
My mom was on the whole Mommy's Little Helper and the Valium at night.
Yeah, and they were financially abusing these men. They were telling these men, oh, yeah, I got Debbie that's going to come in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and do this. Debbie either did not ever exist or was coming one day a week, or her fees may have been $30 a week, but the wife's getting $70, taking $70 out the budget. And these women weren't putting it away for a nest fund. No, they were spending it up. There were women who got credit cards. Yeah, there were women who got credit cards and their husbands had no idea what a credit card was, that they had a credit card, nothing. Because these men there were men who never knew how much they made per hour. They never even looked at their checks.
And it goes back and forth because then when my dad died, because he, very affluent life for all this time, in the last year of his life, he took out a shit ton of loans and forged my mom's name on them and let the house go into foreclosure and didn't tell her. So it cuts both ways. This lack of partnership, this lack of, well, this is going to suck. Let's stand shoulder to shoulder and let's get through it. However we get through it, whatever balance, if it's 90-10, if it's 50-50, whatever works for you, let's just figure it out and let's get through it.
And a lot of these people, like, if you want to be a trad wife, realize your husband isn't going to like you. He's obligated to you. And that's where a lot of it came from, because it's easy to individualize yourself in a family when you don't like the other person, where you never like them. I saw, and I tried to find it today because so many people were sending us these videos. And I was like, well, this is the majority of what came up. I had just finished doing the tally when you were like, what are we talking about? I had just finished doing the tally because I'm like, I keep seeing the same video.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. And I was like, well, I keep seeing the same set of videos. So I literally had to like make a checklist. Like I made categories to make a checklist to make sure. But I was trying to find a video. There was a woman that was being interviewed. I couldn't tell if she was from the silent generation or boomer. So she might be one of those cusp babies.
Right.
And she was being asked, she was like, oh, you know, when did you find the love of your life? And she said, well, I married the wrong person at first, but we had children together and I knew I had to stay with him. But she was like, God is great. He died in an airplane accident. And 3 months later, I was able to marry the love of my life. And I'm like, that is a trad wife. That is a trad.
If he hadn't died, right?
If he had, right, she would have just been having an affair. Because when people say they don't understand how men from certain decades could have a wife and a family on this block and 2 blocks away have a wife and a family and they didn't know about each other. Honey, they knew about each other. They didn't care.
No.
That secondary family.
Listen to Martha Annalito when she's being recorded, right? And she says, you know, he says, please don't fly another flag, right? Or whatever Sacred Heart flag she wanted. And she said, I won't. I'm going to defer to you. But when you're free of this nonsense, I'm going to do it and send them a message every day talking about the people that fly in the pride flag. This nonsense being his career, that she married him in college as a Supreme Court justice now, as this nonsense, because it interferes with her being able to do what she wants right now, because her allegiance is not to him, and this a career that is important to him. Her allegiance is to the power that career affords her.
Just like Jenny Thomas.
Yeah.
Because everybody recognizes with Senator Robert Menendez Sr., Senior, because I have to make that distinction because there is a junior, and yes, they're related, but they don't hang out. They are not connected. I need y'all to stop with the conspiracy theories about looking to the son. Yeah. The son has not spoken to his father. The daughter has not spoken to her father since he divorced their mother.
And everybody's not a Kennedy. Every family is like Kennedys.
But if everybody can recognize the honey trap that his second wife put him under, why can't y'all recognize the other honey traps? Because Jenny Thomas definitely honey trapped Clarence.
She does not like him.
Marianne Alito honey trapped Justice Alito. They don't like these men. They like the power and the networking that comes with these men.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell all the rest of us we don't need to vote. We don't need to be in this, but they got businesses. They're voting. They're lobbying. They're on the front lines. I'm like, would you stop the cap? Because Jenny Thomas's mother was a conservative woman's advocate. I'm like, what are you advocating for? Slavery?
Yeah, I mean, how far can you go? And here's my thing: I'm not defending Justice Alito, but how dehumanizing and emasculating is this nonsense? When you're free of this nonsense. And then what does that say to their children? Both sons, daughters, and theys and thems. What does that say to them?
And it's just like we can notice, because I've been in a position where you meet someone, you're at the beginning of a friendship or even a romantic relationship, and they're like, oh yeah, this is such and such. Oh, they're so great, and they do this, that, and the other. And then as people start to like you, they don't like that because you're taking some of the shine away from them in their mind.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they start downplaying everything that you do. And that's a lot of times what these women do to powerful men.
Yeah. Which is why the men end up so damaged, first off, and why they end up so defensive and of their power. Because the only place they feel that is in their career.
And they're more willing to become transactional at that point because they know what to expect from a transaction. And quiet as kept. Let's just put all the truth out there. That's why most multimillionaires and billionaires prefer to be with a woman of color.
Yeah. Because look, all of this is, you had the transactional nature of relationships, the lust for power, the lust for violence, all of these things, right, that stem from white women's lack of core self.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you meet someone that has that, yeah, it's going to be incredibly intoxicating, alluring, and you don't see it much in women, certainly not in the women that are in the circles these men are in, and white women, right? Um, so yeah.
Well, it's just like if you look at, okay, let me put this like this: white women are raised to be figureheads,
Mm-hmm.
to be the face of a community.
Yep.
No different than if you look at, in all technicality, what the president of the United States is made to be: a figurehead, the
Yep.
face of a nation.
Yep. A CEO. I mean, just
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. Yes.
And it's, you can tell a good president from a bad president, because a good president, when they're out of office, they'll do their little book tours, you know, make sure they're straight, get their libraries together. A bad president has to keep trying to be in the limelight because they need that pseudo family, that pseudo community, that pseudo love. And that's how a lot of white women are, because they were raised to be the face, the spokesperson. There was no community built. There was, these are your lines, learn your lines. This is your costume, always be in it. You're always got to be pageant ready.
Yep.
And you have to be the best spokesperson out there. So don't cozy up to Becky Sue over there, because that is your competition.
And they do it to us kids. They do it to kids. We do it to our own kids, right? And I've made some of these mistakes with my kids. As much as I knew better, it still happened.
And it trickles into other women in other communities, because like it, love it, skip it, or jump it, you do default to the European American standard.
Yes.
Because I remember being beat to a pulp because my god sister, who's about roughly a year younger than me, learned the alphabet in English quicker than I did.
Damn.
I knew it in German, knew it in Spanish, knew it in French. I could tell you the alphabet in hieroglyphics. But because I didn't learn it quick enough in English, and there was that competition, and then there was the competition of, well, your brothers did it this way. I don't give a damn.
The one I always got throughout my whole life was, you're so much smarter than your brother. Why are you not XYZ? Why are you not National Honor Society? Why are you not competing for valedictorian? Why are you, why do you not have the career? And that still happens, right? He owns his office building, his multi-million-dollar house, his yacht, his home. But he's bitter and angry and lives alone.
And also, intellect doesn't always equate to success.
No.
It doesn't always
not at all
to financial success, because I have a brother that I look at often, like, how are you surviving? Mm-hmm. How is natural selection not taking you out? But on paper, financially, he's successful. Mm-hmm. And also, I really wish collectively, from coast to coast, one thing would stop. I wish people would stop telling children while they're in school that they can do anything, be anything, achieve anything. And then the moment said child turns 18, oh, you can't do that. That's not, no, that's not that's stable. You're not smart enough for that. You don't have, wait a minute, didn't you just hype me up so that I could do this?
I got accepted to fucking MIT out of high school, right? Back when they did entrance exams and shit, to study plasma physics. And my mother turned around and said, no woman needs a theoretical physics degree. I'm not going to help you pay for that.
Oh, I was told, oh, are you sure you're going to be able to do that?
I thought I was the smart one, right?
Right, like that. And then years later, if you take a regular old 9 to 5, why didn't you ever do this? Those were some years. Wait, would y'all make up your fucking mind? just like when I stepped out on faith and started my own business, I came up with my capital. I came up with enough money for like 6 months to be able to sustain everything. And I said, if after 6 months I don't have a single client, I'll give up and go back to working for other people.
Mhm.
I got dogged. I had people showing up to my house with want ads straight out the newspaper, bringing me applications. Mind you, I hadn't borrowed any money from anybody. Nothing was getting cut off. I wasn't asking anybody to pay for anything for me. Were things slim? Yes, because y'all know I like my nails. I like to go get my hair done. Could I do that at that point in time? No, but it's not a necessity.
Yeah.
It's just something I like to do. Like my nails wasn't looking raggedy. I know how to buff them out and paint them. I know how to pull my hair back and wash it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when it started, because I started off sharing an office space with a relative, and then both of us realized the crux of our business, we don't need to meet with people face to face. And if we do, it's better if we go to them because
Yeah.
we're working on their stuff.
Yep.
So for the rest of the time we had that lease, we rented it out for like casting calls, modeling calls, stuff like
That's
that,
smart.
which gave us some extra money and helped us pay the bill. And we just started respectively, because we were used to working with someone else. We go to my house one week, go to their house one week, and then we finally work separate. And I
Okay.
kept getting criticized, and people were treating me like, and actually there's still some people who act like I ain't got a damn job. I don't know how they think my bills get paid if I ain't got no fucking job, but I don't know. But then work from home started being a bigger thing. And my biggest critics were the ones that jumped on work from home positions. And I said, and I used to ask them, what's the difference between them and me?
Yeah.
What is the difference between them and me? I said, y'all dogged me out and everything, and now y'all are fighting and clamoring to work from home.
Yeah.
You're out here supporting all these other people with their side hustles and gigs. I'm like, okay. And I have a niece that I love dearly. I love dearly. I've been doing blogs, podcasts, and everything for years now. I can tell you exactly who in my family actually watches faithfully. And when my niece announced that she was going to be doing a podcast with my old podcast equipment, I gladly donated it to her.
Sure.
Because I've been able to upgrade. It's not bad equipment. Oh my God, we got to tell everybody. We got to do. Now, mind you, I'm glad she started this while she's in college and other people
Sure.
are responsible for her bills. But I'm like, where was that support when me, with 4 children, that y'all were so concerned about the well-being of these children?
Yep.
But when I was working to get the collateral and I was doing wedding coordination, you were telling people to hire everybody but me.
Yep.
When I branched out in photography, you were telling everybody to hire everybody but me.
Damn. See, yeah, my brother, he's an entrepreneur. He started his own consulting firm, and look what he's done. And me, she does some business.
Well, yeah, they say that about my uncle, and then I found out when my granny passed away, as the inheritance was being stolen from me and my brothers, that the condo I thought that was my uncle's, that my cousin moved into, actually belonged to my granny. So when I had a slum landlord taking advantage of me and my kids and we had to move, we could have moved up the street into that condo and I could have paid the bills, but I was lied to.
Wow.
My uncle, who started a business that nobody really knows what this business does or even if it turns a profit, though that would explain why he decided to, try to steal millions of dollars from his niece and nephews. He didn't just start this business on his own. He borrowed $250,000 from my granny to start a business.
What?
But I was criticized for borrowing for a total of 4 days, $225, because both of my boys went through a growth spurt and outgrew their beds and their uniform clothes. And I found a place that could get me a bunk bed for the low, because I had mattresses, because I had bought mattresses. I just didn't have the frames at the time. I knew that they were going to grow. So it was one of those, you catch a sale, you get what you can. You catch another sale, you get what you can. I thought I had at least another month. Yeah. And the day that said uncle got married, I went to go pay my papa back, and my papa was like, "Nope, you can keep the money. You're the first person ever to borrow money from me to actually pay me back."
Wow.
And I got criticized for less than $300 borrowed. And when I tell you, I scrimped and I found coupons.
Mhm.
I was asking
Yep.
people, "Hey, if I give you this money, can you use your employee discount? Because I needed to get uniform clothes in the bed
Yep.
frame." And for less than $300, I think I did good.
You did. And yeah, it's like it's funny because my kids talk about, we were really poor when the older two were little, like really poor, like didn't eat at night, made sure the kids were fed. No, I got full cooking dinner. Nope, don't worry about it. A lot of dinner, the baked potatoes with cheese,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. And they will tell you it's like, well, I knew we were poor because of where we lived, right? So that was obvious. But it didn't ever feel poor. And I was like, yeah, because at 7 o'clock on Thursday, when the real garage sales were open, I would go over to not the super wealthy, I mean, either the super wealthy or the middle class areas. Now, the McMansion people, they're
Mm-hmm.
terrible at garage sales, but you get that middle class or you get the really rich area, and they had, name brand clothes, and they had, a decent bed, crappy mattress, because those you don't tend to find, and they're illegal technically to sell. And I didn't want anybody else's bedding. But yeah, and they were like, we didn't really know. And I was like, that's kind of the whole point. It's not your burden to carry.
Because my kids, and I accidentally started a tradition. Because things were getting so slim, I had things in the kitchen that didn't quite match to make meals. So I'll be like, "Hey, let's do our own cooking show." And they would be like, "Oh, well, Mom, we think you can cook, like you can cook anything." And I was like, "Oh, I can cook anything? What do you think I can cook?" And they just take random ingredients, like, "Here, make a meal."
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, they do that shit for fun. They think that my life is
chopped. Yeah.
Because when they showed up at my house with a live squid for me to cook, talking about, "We heard it was good and we know you could make it tasty," I was like, "This has gone too far.
This is too far."
I was like, "Let me sit y'all down. We used to do this because we was broke. We're not broke anymore. Can we not?" But I was like, I don't, because I can't tell you how many times I just literally sat crisscross applesauce in my kitchen crying because I'm like, what can I put together for these kids? Like, for me, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'll eat anything. If I'm hungry, I will throw anything together and I really don't care. But I'm like, kids can be picky.
Yep.
And I had two kids that didn't like, and I had two kids that didn't really like school lunches. And I would like try to, I will say I lucked out. They did like leftovers to take with their lunch. They didn't necessarily have to heat it up. So I'm like, okay, I know I can make a little bit extra and get them, but they're
that bag of
picky.
Chicken nuggets was out of our price range.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I don't want my kids to feel embarrassed going to school. So I'm like, and I would just cry, like, what the crap can I make? Because I'm like, you can only make spaghetti so many times before
Spaghetti's the one, right?
Yeah, before kids start picking up on it.
We didn't eat a lot of Hamburger Helper. It wasn't our thing. I mean, we did but spaghetti was our meal. And it was, I guess, after Robert graduated, it was about 3 years later, I made spaghetti one night. He said, "Can we not have spaghetti ever again for a while? I just can't."
Well, see, then there was one time, because my papa used to pop over to the house because me and my kids were his entertainment, go figure. And he was so sweet because his trunk, he used to drive a Lincoln, an old school big body Lincoln.
Those things had the biggest trunks, the big square one.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And he used to fill it up with Little Debbie's and like pull out a bag of Little Debbie's and give it to the kids because he knew that I'm trying to get the essentials. So this was a way of him looking like a hero. The kids can have snacks. I don't have to feel bad about trying to give them snacks.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, "I'm going to tell you a trick that me and your granny used to do." And I was like, "What?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Y'all have always had like the best meals." He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Because you think bougie food costs a lot." He was like, "Make those kids Marzetti." make them some baked ziti.
Mhm.
And when I thought about it, first of all, I was like, girl, where has your head been? And I'm like,
You can dress
these,
up that spaghetti in a different way.
I was
Yeah.
exactly, and I'm like, and these are hearty, but that's how
Stuffed bell peppers.
my Alfredo got to the point that everybody loves it, because I'm like, okay, I'm tired of spaghetti. So that's when I started blanching spinach and doing sun-dried tomatoes and putting mushrooms
Yep.
and stuff in there, because I could cut down on the amount of meat I had to put in there.
Mhm.
And everybody, I'm like,
And yeah,
yes.
you have a friend in the neighborhood that works at the grocery store. Now, I mean, it's still really tight for us because we help my youngest, right? She lives in Dallas and she's been out of college 2 years now. I'm sorry, it's just impossible, right? Financially. Then my son and his wife live here with us. And but he works at the meat counter at the fancy grocery store in Tyler, which is it's not as good as a Central Market or something like that, but it's called Fresh, and they have dry aged meat and all this. But like he called me or texted me this morning, he said discounted meat today, tri-tips and air chilled chicken. Come on, get some. So I ran right up there and got some, right? Because it'll sell real quick. The good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I still do that, and I always will. A, first of all, I don't like waste. B, it's tight. It's real tight, and especially now that we took on a mortgage. But it'll never be like it was. But by the same token, Robert and I were talking about this today. We had more fun, right? And I wish I had realized how much fun I was having in the moment rather than in hindsight.
Yeah. Because just like another thing I started with my kids was picnics.
Yeah, we did that a lot.
The reason why I started the picnics is because there was one house that we were in, there was no central air. There was central heat, but not central air. And there was a park near us that had like a little creek by it. And the creek was
about
like
20 degrees cooler than everywhere else.
Yep. And the wind would blow down, and I would take them there because I'm like, okay, we got to let this house cool down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I can feed them cold foods and it'll be fun. And that's also when I established a rule that I keep to this day. And I love this rule. I said, in the cold, I don't make cold. In the hot, I don't make hot. So my stews and chilies and stuff, I'm not making when it's hot outside, because it was hot in the kitchen when you don't have air conditioning.
Especially things that have to cook a long time, like gumbo and stew and
yeah. And they would be fine. And then I would throw in that one Thanksgiving dinner in the summer that I would do for them and their friends. But I would make like
that's
huge,
wild.
Yeah, I would make like huge things of like chicken salad or tuna salad and stuff. And I'm like, everybody can have at it. The kids really loved it. And before it got popular, the pretzel buns.
Yeah.
I used to be able to get like 20 of them for like $1, $2, whatever. Then of course they got
crazy
popular.
expensive.
But I'm like, the sandwiches would seem fancy, but they weren't, and the kids were getting filled. Yeah, it was.
Yep. It was.
It was a good time back then, but I too wish that I could have really appreciated how much I was enjoying certain things.
Yes,
like when my one brother and my granny helped me set up my backyard as like our little park, and we made a mini basketball court. Because I had a detached garage, but we had to tear down that garage because it was just it had been falling apart. I never used it. And I was like, and they were like, well, to build this back up, no, we found 2 rims and just put them on either side.
There you go. I was gonna say basketball court.
Yeah, and I'm like, looking back, we had some minus my oldest daughter reminded me just how much like her mother she is, and her breaking her collarbone twice.
Speaking
on a slip and slide, because leave it to one of my offspring to get injured on a slip and slide. How do you? And I looked at her as I'm having to take her to the emergency room. How do we explain this, young lady? How it's slip and slide? It's what? How?
Yeah.
And the doctor's looking at me. They put me in the room with the 2-way mirror. Like, well, what did you do? I looked at her.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't stop this from happening. I didn't know it was possible.
We found things we found at the garage sales, right? We found a swing set at one point, and what was the other thing I was going to tell you we found? A badminton set. We had more fun with that badminton set. Yeah, I don't make gumbo in the summertime. I don't, because I make traditional chicken and andouille. I prefer to add shrimp and seafood in it, but for the longest time I did not because we couldn't afford it, right? But yeah, so we got a swing set, got stitches. Ralph got stitches twice from the swing set, right?
Well, see, our basement was concrete, then had like these that first of all, the poles were rusted, and then somebody had painted over the poles, but the rust was like coming out. But they were like 3 in a row. And my infinite being a 20-something year-old parent got everybody roller skates and skateboards, and we would be in the basement year-round, skating in between these poles and all the way around. And at the far end, there was a ping pong table. Why? Because my dad found the ping pong table and just gave it to us. Did we have a net for it?
You have a ping pong table, right?
Yeah. Did we have a net for it? Nope. Did we have balls? Nope. Did we have a paddle? Nope. But we made up a million games to play on this table. And I can't tell you how many times somebody crashed into the table. So the table was wobbly. It was not straight up. But we've busted faces, everything.
Yep.
So people be like, why are y'all bruised up like y'all have a secret fight club? Oh, we were skating in the basement. And they would look at me because there was one teacher who really thought that I was abusing the kids. So she called me in for a conference and then saw that I was scratched up and bruised up. And she was like, do you all need help getting out? I was like, out of what? She's like, you all are, you're very scratched as a family. Because I remember she said that. She was like, you're very scratched. And she just looked like side to side. And I was like, and I said, and I had taken some pictures and like a short, like, remember you could take like a 5-second video on like the Motorola Razor?
Yeah.
So I had one of those and I'm showing her and she's like, oh, y'all do this for fun? Well, we thought that we could get a roller derby going in the basement. And this is the result. And she said, but you're the adult. Ma'am, you thought I was a student here. The other parents are old enough to be my parent. I wouldn't classify me as an adult, but I also wouldn't try this at home.
The number of times they thought my son was my little brother is just crazy. But
I'm still getting laughed at. Because when I registered the oldest two for high school, the assistant principal, their assistant principal was like, excuse me, why aren't you in uniform? I'm going to have to I'm like, sir, one, it's me. Hey, remember, you used to stoop my best friend? Yeah, that's me. I'm an adult. And he looked, and he's like, it is you. Yeah. You thought she was hanging around with a minor? He was like, I thought you were her little sister.
Wow.
But you were still willing to stoop her in the next room. Like,
Our
you
generation,
okay with that?
my generation, your generation, all have the story of the coach or whoever that was screwing half the student body, right? I'll never understand it. Never understand.
And ours was a security guard. What ours at my high school was the security guard whose wife was already also a security guard at the school.
Oh.
And then there was I guess he would technically be considered a building sub, this other guy. And he was creepy because he kept wanting me to keep score, like keep all the records for the boys baseball team. And I'm like, I have zero interest in baseball. Like, do I know how?
The person that sits there and writes.
Right. Like, do I know how to do it? Yes. Did I want to? No. And at that time, I was also the cheerleading captain. And I'm like, your games are during my practice. Like, no. And he's like, oh, well, you know. And then all of a sudden, he became the in-school suspension teacher. And then all of a sudden, I started getting in-school suspension. I'm like, the fuck did I do?
And I think this is the thing that gets me about people like Great Value Pearl and all these white women that want to assume this role, they look at people like, Greta Van Susteren, who has got an economics degree, I believe, from an Ivy League school, right? They look at Tommy Lahren, right? Who doesn't have any real skills, but still came from an affluent family. Her husband is very wealthy, right? And they're not pretending to be something. That awful facade is who they are.
And they fit the eugenic. They fit the eugenic the eugenically accurate to them, correct, beneficial stereotype. They have that aesthetic.
Yes.
And I always think that it's funny.
Although
that the aesthetic,
the transformation of Christy Nome.
Oh yeah, but it's just as bad as
Kimberly
Don June.
Yeah,
yeah. But I'm always tickled. Like the first time that I learned about Hitler, and I had a teacher from Germany, and she left Germany because of the whole Hitler thing.
Okay.
And she had family that were proud Nazis and were just hiding being Nazis at that point. And she was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm just going to leave the country because I get it. She didn't want the association. And she's like, I can't escape y'all because they were like in the government, in the schools, like she can't escape them. And when she was saying it, and I looked at her and I said, so he believes that the look of superiority isn't even the look that he has, but the look of superiority you only get from being incestuous. And she looked at me and she said,
about Great Value Pearl out there jabbering that jaw, right?
When that teacher looked at me, she said, what do you mean? She said, what do you mean incestuous? And I said, oh yeah, grandfather's a scientist, so I read a lot of his books. And I said, before you try to get on my grandparents for leaving me unsupervised with the books, they gave up. They know I'm going to read them anyway.
Yep.
So they just stopped putting them up. I will climb the bookshelf because I see new books.
Whole set when I was 8.
I did too. When my grandfather was studying for his master's in chemistry, when I was 5, I was studying right along with him. And I said, blue eyes comes from your family not having sex outside of your family. Blonde hair, your family, y'all, you can date outside the family. It'll give you a variety of colors. When you recycle the same DNA over and over again, it washes it out. I said it's just like doing laundry. If you wear one shirt, and trust me, there was many years that I had one sweater that was innerwear, outerwear, my winter coat, everything else, and I washed it so much, and it was a black sweater that I got after graduating from the University of Cincinnati. It was a UC sweater. It had a little emblem on it. I had washed it so much one winter, it was no longer black. It was starting to turn white. If you keep washing it in the same stuff, so you keep bringing it through the same sperm and egg.
Yep. And these women just think that, and it's not just women, right? Because of elder millennial or whatever his fucking weird self is. And these guys are, but there's more to it. They've got a business plan, right? This is a plan. This is not just, I'm going to go out and be shocking and all the right's going to come knocking at my door and they're going to tell me how to make this work. These are people that knew how to make this social media thing work, had a plan and executed it. Not just somebody who's lazy and like, I'm going to go say edgy stuff and then I'm going to be a celebrity.
And my thing is, it's very hit or miss on what's actually going to be edgy, because there are times where I will just have a thought pop in my head and I'm like, you know what? This is some good information, or this is a thought. Let me see if anybody else agrees. And I just toss it out there. Okay. I used to just text Arena, and Arena was like, please stop doing this. She was like, just ask the people at large, because something's wrong with your brain and you're stressing me out. And I'm like, aren't you sitting at the doctor's office? You ain't got shit else to do. Just answer the question. And it'll be the strangest thing. Like, I put up a post like, how do you like eggs? went viral. But then I have an in-depth think piece about the judicial system. 60 views, 0 comment. Like, you don't know. But like the elder millennial, and I know a lot of people like to point out his alcoholism, and I'm putting this in quotation marks because I noticed that his slurring of words, it's like on a metronome.
Yep.
And it always surfaces when he's going to say the craziest stuff that takes the most thought and the most concentration. And I'm sorry, when you're drunk, you just don't have that. I don't care how functioning you are as an alcoholic, as an addict, that is not going to happen. Your critical thought is not going to be there and that on par. And then that's when he comes out and he gives a pseudo apology and doesn't really lose anything and moves on. I'm like, it's methodical.
It's him.
Just like even with Hannah and her, you know, I'm indigenous, I'm blah, 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 blah. She'll throw in something else where other communities will pounce on her, where the Native community is like, oh, she's not on me. And as soon as here she comes again. And like I told people last year, I said, I figured out her pattern. Beginning of the month, especially when we start getting to the winter holidays, that's when Hannah surfaces. And then by the new year, she goes away because she's banked enough money to coast on through.
Yeah. Who was the blonde girl from Canada that used to do the same shit that Hannah does? I think her name was Heidi. I called her Heiselberg Heidi at one point.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of her name, but I know exactly who you're talking about. And she used to, and they have a pattern. And like Hannah, I think I'm not sure, but it seems that her husband must work in construction because it's those times that she pops out. And I'm like, I have a cousin that works in construction, and I can tell when he's shifting to working with another one of our cousins, like hauling DJ equipment and stuff like that. Because for those of y'all that don't know, my family, we're kind of weird. We have schedules as to when we talk to each other, whether it's a text, a phone call, or whatever. We love each other, but we won't talk every day, every week. Oh, nothing. We have a schedule. And I noticed because he'll send me a reminder like, hey, don't forget our day will now be this.
Okay.
So that, you know, when he's in construction, we'll talk earlier in the day, like on Tuesday. When he's hauling for our cousin, because he's not up during the day anymore, he's at night hauling equipment around. He's like, don't forget, on this day before you go to bed, I'll be checking in.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
And that's where I was like, that's the pattern of Hannah's husband.
And you can
just
kind
like
of
when
see
they got a new house
too, when seasons shift too.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that with her. She's horrible, but I can't even react to her anymore. Right now, that's easy for me to say because she's not coming after white people. Right.
Well, not only that, just like there's a guy who claims he has a twin, and the twin is supposed to be good, and he's supposed to be this misogynistic alpha dom dude that says all this crazy stuff. But I'm like, he got busted out on Facebook admitting that he's trying to get clout by saying ridiculous stuff. And anytime I come across him or somebody duets him, and I'm like, you know what? I'm proud of him for sticking to the grift, even though it's been uncovered. I'm like, stick to the grift, because I'm like, that's what they're doing. They're grifting.
Yes, that's it.
Of this.
That's it, right? It's always a grift. And one's like, what's her name? Lily, whatever this new girl is.
Great GVP.
Yeah, GVP. They don't understand that grift takes work. See, they expect it to be, they show up, they say something, they go viral, and then, you know, the right will come along and just carry them along with them. Nobody's actually working. And I don't think they understand how hard those right-wing provocateurs and fucking assholes work. I've never said they don't work, right? It's a grift because they're not doing what they say they're doing.
Yeah, and GVP, I knew she was unprepared. Like I said, my introduction to her was not the N-word video. It was the whole normies video. And when I looked at the dates, because I did go into the comment section, and just like you said, it was an old video, and I was like, okay, once again, this is weird, but hey, I was like, maybe that's just her thing. Maybe
What
because
grown-ass
there's
adult uses the word normie?
right. And I was like, there's so many niche communities out there. I was like, I'm not going to take offense to it. Maybe she's in one of those communities.
Mhm.
This content just isn't for me. But she didn't go back and delete her previous content.
No.
And I'm like, sweetheart, and here's the thing. This is where she's really messed up at. When she was on the side of pointing out racism,
Yep.
she forgot one important thing. She's a skinny white woman. She could have blown up and had millions of followers,
Yep.
all sorts of brand deals by talking about being anti-racist
Yep.
because she is the blonde-haired, skinny white woman
Mhm.
that they want to be the face of everything.
Absolutely.
I'm like, sweetheart, you're crossing over to the wrong side. You don't have a man. There's
And-
nobody for you to default to. See, what she should have done, like there's a woman on TikTok that, and I would y'all, if y'all don't quit saying that I am the black version of her, I'm gonna look up all y'all IP addresses and come and throat punch every last one of y'all because we are not the same. But it's a white woman that she does drop her tone like I do, and she talks. She comes off as very condescending, but she gives no facts. She surrounded herself by the professor corps, which is a group of men.
I did the video of wearing the messy yarn bun once. She talks she's a very condescending speech
Yes.
pattern.
She surrounded herself by the
Always wears a cami.
yeah.
Yeah.
She does that, and then she surrounded herself by the professor court. All those men that pretend they were like, yeah, we're she had all those men backing her.
They took one of my accounts.
Yeah,
Because I
she
made
had
fun
all
of it.
these men backing her and validating her and acting as if she needed to be protected, where she was really the mouthpiece and the
Yep.
leader. She just knew how to play it to the public that she wasn't the one pulling the strings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but all of these, just like Pearl, there's no one attached to her.
Right.
But there are people who still watch Pearl and still throw money at Pearl because Pearl has changed her strategy. Pearl is
I noticed
just
this.
like Candace Owens. They're coming back around because they know conservatives are becoming broke.
Yeah.
Conservatives,
the
they done
other thing.
grifted. There are too many people on the conservative side grifting.
Because the whole thing's a grift.
Right. There's not
It's
enough
like
money
now,
to
it's
go
all
around
grift.
now. So now they're going, now Pearl is setting herself up to, oh, the conservative men are coming after me,
Mhm.
just like Candace Owens.
Who
Oh,
was
because Candace started setting herself up a few years ago. Remember, Miss Racism doesn't exist. The concierge is being racist towards me. A member of the Republican Party at the RNC is being racist. She set it up. So her getting fired at this point, we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming.
Who is the white transgender woman that did the whole thing? She transitioned when she was like 14, 15, and then she came out and said it should be illegal and that's wrong. And then the
conservatives didn't take her.
No, they kept her for a minute, right? And then they started misgendering her and dead naming her.
Well, because she said that was okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, did you think that you were going to be excluded from that? Like, she thought she was going to be the next Caitlyn Jenner. And I'm like, no, baby, no. That's
and they do it to Caitlyn Jenner too.
Yeah, I was like, honey, Caitlyn Jenner has just had a life of degradation kink. Like,
yeah, and she's got enough money that fuck it, right? She doesn't need to make a living.
Right,
I'm like, from soup to nuts is a grift.
But I'm just like, yeah, and so they're all rounding the corner to come over, and I'm like, sweetheart, on this side, everybody broke because they get up and go to work every day. They don't have trust funds over here.
And that's the one that gets me about these people that want to be this right celebrity. Okay, let's just say it went like GVP wanted it to, right? And she blew up and got all this attention. And there's, a month, 6 weeks of doing, InfoWars and going on, Shapiro's pod, and doing all these things. And they don't pay much for you to show up on those unless you're a celebrity. Matter of fact, I don't know if some of them pay at all. But you're doing all this thing and you're getting donations. And then about 6 weeks in, they still, Tommy Lauren, until is she on Newsmax or ONN? I don't know, but until that happened, was still a realtor.
Mhm.
They have jobs. They talk about not having jobs, but they have jobs. It doesn't support you.
And the only time they can support themselves independently is if they do what the one chick does, which is crazy, is go to college campuses and incite people and get up
Yeah.
in their faces. And I'm like, yeah, don't put your body on the line like that. Just like so many people
Yeah.
are like, oh, I love your TikTok content. I love when I see you over here. I love you when I see you over there. And then they come over here to the podcast and they're like, oh, well, oh, you thought that I was like the men with mics or the people who just read Reddit posts on their podcast? No.
No.
And they're like, well, don't you have a desire to like have a bunch of celebrities come on and do what? I was like, there are some people that I guess you could consider celebrities that I would like to have genuine conversations with
That's my
because
thing. There's
I've
a lot of
heard
people.
them speak on politics. I've heard them speak on different
Leslie
topics.
Jones. I would
Yes.
love to sit down and have a beer or a coffee with Leslie Jones.
And we know my ultimate lady crush, Miss Marsha Warfield. I will talk to her about any and everything. That woman is so knowledgeable. If Mr. James Amos was in better health at the moment, I would love to have him come on because I did once get to meet him when he was doing his James Amos.
Yeah.
When he did his one-man show, and it was just a brief conversation, but in that conversation, outside of lived experience, his point of view on politics, I would love to further pick his brain, and I think other people would like to hear what he has to say. Well, things like that, yes, but I don't care who's dating who. I can't remember who in my family is dating who.
When JD Fuller first asked me to come on her podcast, Changing the Narrative, about 3 years ago, I guess now, maybe 4. I've done it twice. I was floored. At that time, I was still on my original account. I was sitting at 50,000 and it jumped up to 60, but it never, went much past that. And I was like, why? And she's just has the best conversations. I'd love to have her on.
Oh, yeah.
Just freaking smart and just adore, And these are the people that I find fascinating, right? I'm trying to think because I'm sitting here running through my head and almost all of them are Black or Indigenous. I'd love to have Amy Chen on. She's Chinese.
Yes, I love Amy. Trying to work out with Amy.
Her scheduling's really tough with all performing and teaching.
See, when Amy is in a stationary place, I'm literally on the road going place to place.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, you have hotspots. You could do that. I could, but here's the thing. If y'all notice, anytime I'm out in public, I zoom in so I don't accidentally catch anybody else in the background.
Yep.
And I don't want to accidentally catch someone's conversation.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Even with noise canceling headphones, what it picks up from other people's conversations is concerning. I'm not trying to invade somebody else's privacy.
Right. And I'm like, it doesn't matter where I go because I've even tested it with, calling people, FaceTiming people, like while I'm out places. And they're like, oh, I can hear this or I can see this. And I am.
And I will too. We can ask. You want to ask Amy to come on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there are a couple people, and I love the conversations. Now, me and my willingness to have conversations with people, regardless of the walk of life, has that caused me to lose some friendships? Yeah, but I look at it this way: we couldn't have been that great of friends.
That's my thing. If you didn't have, if it wasn't important enough for you to come to me and say, hey, what's going on, but when I said, well, that's just the decision I made, and you were like, oh, okay, well.
And my thing is, it's not as if, and let me clear the air. I don't want people thinking that I'm agreeing to have conversations with people and then I'm hopping on a plane, train, automobile and meeting face to face with complete strangers in a dark alley. No, I've had people in friendships with me because I agreed to sit down and have a conversation with somebody who may have started off saying something problematic, admitted that, oh, I didn't know it was problematic. Do you mind if we talk about it? And I'm like, sure. I may talk to them on Zoom. I may talk to them over Facebook Messenger. I could understand people going, oh, you're putting yourself in danger because I'm physically putting myself in a room with someone.
Yeah.
I'm
But
like,
over
they
Zoom?
can't get to me over Zoom. What they
And
what they gonna do? Click me to death?
do I think there are very, very many people that are ignorant to the things around race and racism or social justice? Or I don't think there are many, but I do think there's a lot of white people, straight people, cisgender people that are lacking in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing we can't affect, right? Slow down. Look here. Oh, I was just talking to a friend who's like, I can't vote for Biden. And I'm like, I'm I'm torn. And they're like, I don't know how to explain to people, you know, that Biden's a bad vote. And I'm like, well, you can't because that's out of a fear of Trump being worse. And I understand that
Mm-hmm.
because it will be. And some people have hit the point where it can't be anymore. They cannot cast the vote for Biden. But it's not that they're protesting. They just can't. And that's okay too. We're all standing in the same room looking out of a different window.
It's like this. There was, for many years, my family and I, we would take a trip back home to the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the core of it, there were about between 11 to 15 of us that would do the cruise route.
Okay.
Because a bunch of us had smaller children, and cruises are just easier to travel with children.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, worry about like food and stuff like that.
Yep.
But each time we came back, and this is the time where, you have to go get your pictures developed. And we would pick like one Walgreens or CVS or whatever to get our pictures developed. And we would stand around in the parking lot. And each time my papa and I would look at each other, and he's like, every time it's like we're on 10 different vacations. Flew in together, got on and off the ship together, had breakfast and dinner together every day. But if you looked at our pictures, you would think that we were nowhere near each other the entire time.
Yeah.
And it's not that anybody was upset. It's just we had designated check-in time, but everybody's core interests were different.
Yeah.
And you would have never thought that. And that's where we are right now. You have people with different needs, different focuses. Now, I can understand and appreciate people who don't want to vote for Biden, even if they cast a vote for RFK Jr. What I'm having a hard time with are people who are fighting against people having a level head saying, hey, some of these offshoots of third-party candidates that are very gimmicky. That are very gimmicky, that people are like, I'm going to vote for this person. Like somebody's like, we're voting for this person. And I think that blue bell, what the fuck is a blue bell for vice president? Like, and the person was like, maybe they should sit this out till 2028, especially since they're not even registered to be on the ballot in all 50 states. There's no way that they're plausible. At least
let me
vote for someone who's plausible.
One thing I'm probably not going to vote for Biden. I don't know that I can cross that yet. I don't know. We're still a little bit away. But here's my thing. When you're discouraging other people from voting for Biden, please answer me what your goal is. Because here's the thing. I don't care how many elections the Democrats lose. The DNC is not going to become more progressive. It's not going to happen. Your protest vote to elect somebody else isn't going to teach them a lesson and make them more receptive to progressives. Your third party, a viable third party is not going to happen because you don't vote for Biden or you vote for somebody else. That's not going to happen either. So this idea of changing the political landscape by not voting for Biden is not going to happen. It's not effective. That's not how the politics in this country work. If you can't vote for him, don't vote for him.
Don't vote for him, but vote for somebody who's and by viable, I mean somebody who is on the ballot in more than just your state. And I've said this before, and let me say it again. If you want to change the political landscape, you have to stop waiting until you get pissed off at the presidential nominees. You have to start from the grassroots.
You want to change politics, change people.
Right. Start just like the GOP does. Start with the school boards.
Mm-hmm. And
make your third-party platforms known. Make the third-party platforms known. Make your candidates
We're not
known.
going to resurrect the Democratic Party at this point.
Right. Let your candidates be known. And if you start at the school boards and then go to the aldermen and the assemblymen and the county seats, then these people are known and we know what they stand for. We know their record. Stop waiting until the presidential election cycle to throw people out like spaghetti that's going to stick to the wall. No, that's not going to change anything. And your protest vote isn't a protest vote because there's nobody, there's no demonstration. There's no protest.
The last time we had a chance at making a viable third party was Perot. And he was horrible, right? He was terrible. But if he hadn't pulled out of the election and come back in like the Delulu he is or was, he would have crossed a threshold to truly establish a third party with all the funding and all of everything else that the two parties have. The rules have changed. It's not about getting 20% anymore. You can't, you're never going to get it as a third party. But even if you did, it doesn't now establish because of Citizens United, because of super PACs, because of all the other funding laws that have passed. That's not effective. And so like I said, my big thing is if you don't want to vote for Biden, don't vote for Biden. That's fine. I'm not going to try to change your mind. I'm 1 foot with you right there. But don't discourage everybody else from doing it like there's another solution.
And my thing is, for everybody complaining about this two-party system, it's y'all fault. Y'all let the Republican Party go through and swoop up credit for everything. And make it seem impossible and make it seem like it's always just been Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. We've had presidents that were Whigs. And first of all, for the love of all things fucking holy, stop attributing Abraham Lincoln to the damn Republican Party. That man was elected. That man was elected on a party that he created himself, and that party was dissolved after his death. And the KKK was not a political organization. It was an organization created by fed up Confederate veterans.
Yep. It's so funny to me watch people and they're like, oh, the party switch didn't happen. Show me the votes. And I'm like, I literally can tell you the conversations that I sat around and heard as a little kid, right? About
they got amnesia about the party switch when Trump came into office, because I remember people consistently talking about the party switch. There were people that were proud about the party switch on either side. There were bigots and racists that were proud that the party switched, and there were people who were deconstructing that were proud that the party switched.
I think everywhere else they call them Dixiecrats. In Texas, we called them Blue Dog Democrats, right? Conservative Democrats. And that's what my grandfather was, right? And I remember them talking about shit because he was friends with LBJ. But after the Civil Rights Act passed, he was like, well, where do we go now?
And black folks, come here. LBJ was never our friend. LBJ didn't like us, okay? The only reason LBJ agreed to that is because his predecessor got his head blown off, and his predecessor was well liked by the black community. So he had to, and I think y'all keep forgetting that
LBJ
white men
knew he wasn't going to get reelected,
right? And white men understand how to skew statistics, and they know how to be looked at favorably in history books, even though they're not fucking favorable. Because y'all still haven't figured out that none of us really know what the fuck George Washington looks like, because that motherfucker had every damn likeness of his altered. Every story about him altered to the point where he got y'all thinking this motherfucker didn't own slaves.
Oh, teach. But yeah, LBJ, he sold everything for a legacy. He knew the Civil Rights Act was the only way he was going to have an eternal legacy.
And he knew that if he did not get that passed after all the work that the Kennedy boys, because let's be real, it was both of the Kennedys working together.
And I think Robert would have been a far better president.
Oh, definitely. He knew that he there was no backing down. There was no going. I said, and I'm like, y'all, stop acting like this man was your friend, like he wanted to do something great for y'all. Just like Abraham Lincoln did not give two fucks. Abraham Lincoln wanted every black person rounded up and removed from this country. He was not trying to emancipate anybody. He just didn't want. He finally got right. He finally got elected. And he's like, I didn't want to be elected to half this motherfucking country. And if I don't do something about this war, they're going to look at me as the worst president ever. This is what's in his mind. So he's like, how do we end this? And everybody likes me. And then the fact that black folks liked him was a bonus, because he's like, they can't vote, but they in the houses of all the motherfuckers who can vote. So if they sitting there singing praises,
can't hurt.
I'm like, and before you go, but these black people were working for racists. Yep. And y'all do realize during the gold rush, which overlapped with the silver rush, bet y'all didn't know about the silver rush, did you? There were quite a few black people that were lenders.
Yeah.
Loan sharks, if you will, to white people. And black people would sit there in their homes and tell them, hey, you know, yeah, you got this gold, but make sure you diversify into this silver. And they were listening. So yes, white people were listening to black people. That's how a lot of these white people had wealth. And they would allow black people to become millionaires to, in the final hour, swoop in and take their money.
Absolutely. Eli Whitney, we're looking at you.
And if you look at the Boston area, this is why I tell black people to stay the fuck out of Boston. There are some historical buildings.
My ancestors, my Irish ancestors.
Yeah, there are some historical landmarks that are now being taken care of by the city, and some Bostonians are pissed that their taxpayer money is going to these places that have not been kept up well over the years. You can thank your cities for that, because they would have been preserved properly if you'd have left them in the house, in the families that they belong to, and you didn't steal millions from said families.
Yep. I mean, well, we have one case now in California where a black family got their coastal property back, or they got compensated for it. I think that's the only one I've heard of recently. I don't know what it is about white people not understanding that this country will never heal until we at least balance the financial balance sheet, right? We can never make up for the lives and the torment and the trauma that we have caused Indigenous and Asian and black people, Hispanic people. We can't. We can never change that. But until we settle the balance sheet with reparations and land back, right, this country can never heal. And people are like, no, we just need to move forward. You can't heal an infection by ignoring it. The skin grows over and you go septic and you die. It has to be opened up and brought into the light and dealt with.
Well, not only this, y'all pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you. If you're walking in the woods, they always tell you to mark the trail. They tell you to mark the trail so that you have an account of where you've been. When you don't know where you've been, you're going to keep lapping back and you're never going to move forward. This is why it is so comical when you toss out whataboutisms that have already occurred. You cannot move forward in this country because you still won't acknowledge where you've been. And until you acknowledge it and you learn from it, you are never going to be able to put that marker up to know we're not coming back here.
Yeah. When we keep using the confirmation of something happening as our negating of the result of it, in other words, you're saying that this happened, but the end result did not, then nothing will heal, right? You're chasing your tail. Yep. And we have to. And it's so frustrating because the Caitlin Clark. Okay, this is just such a microcosm, right? Talented girl. Won't take that away from her. Really talented shooter in the collegiate world, right? Absolutely give her that. Deserved to be drafted into the WNBA. But white people going in and elevating her to elite status when she's a rookie, unproven, and playing mediocre at best right now, and elevating her to elite status, demanding she be on the team, demanding she be MVP and an all-star and all of the doesn't do her any good. All y'all are going to do is make her look at mediocrity as elite and successful. And then when it's not treated as elite performance and successful, she's going to quit.
Well, that's why she's cracking now.
Yeah.
Anytime things aren't going her way, you can see her looking like she's about to cry into the towel, because it started in college. Nobody knew who she was until Angel Reese did this back to her in a game. But
after she did it to Angel Reese.
Yeah. But see, when she was at Iowa, let's be real. And before anybody comes for me for my credentials, yes, I've played, I've made all-state, I've coached, and I've been on recruitment teams. So suck it. I know what the fuck I'm talking about, and I know what recruiters are looking for. So her teammates at Iowa were conditioned and ready to sacrifice their bodies for her.
Yep.
They would put themselves between her and a foul, between her and everything else. They sacrificed their own stats, their own professional careers, so that she could have her stats padded. Because even in college, should she have been drafted? Yeah, in the final round.
Yeah.
Let's be real, in the final round.
Yeah.
So she's coming into the league. You draft her number 1 overall. That was some bullshit. You name her best dressed,
which was ridiculous.
You have her going to SNL. She has 0 championships. She's not even the captain of her damn squad.
Yep, she's doing the State Farm ads.
And Dr. Biden, I blame your raggedy ass. When LSU won and you said you should invite both teams, I don't believe in domestic violence.
Well, the white girls getting left out. Yeah, we should invite her too.
I don't believe in domestic violence. But Joseph Robinette, if you would have slapped her dentures out of her face, I wouldn't have said shit.
Oh, yeah. Which you have not heard about, Simone Biles. It has not been in the headline because Caitlin Clark's been in the sports.
Right.
Right.
And here's the thing. She gets into the WNBA. The WNBA is very physical. The same people that were like, oh, Caitlin can go into the NBA and dominate. No, the fuck she can't. No, the fuck she can't. First of all,
who was it she shot against at the All-Star game? 3-pointers. At the men's All-Star game. They did a exhibition.
Yeah, but here's the thing. When the WNBA first started off, they tried to make Lisa Lobo the great white hype, and she shut that down like, nope, we're not doing that. This is a league full of talented individuals. And the women's national team, the team that goes to the Olympics, has not lost a medal game, a game period since 1994. It was that team that was so prolific that's why they decided to create the WNBA.
Yep.
So y'all can stop with we need the marketing. No, but in all of the racism that makes the Venn diagram a circle here, white people will overlook and denigrate those with talent that's out there doing it.
Even white women.
Fucking tramps. There are white women throughout the league, but the fucking champs, Las Vegas, y'all overshadowed them.
And here's the thing. You've got this horrible intersection of homophobia and white supremacy, which, they're a circle Venn diagram anyway, but they're mean to her because she's not gay, and they're mean to her because she's white, and she could shut that
They're mean
down.
to her because she's pretending to not be gay.
Yeah.
Because the gaydar is going on. And somebody made a good point. We know that she has a racist ass boyfriend that's retweeting a bunch of shit. But her relationship is about as real as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Because please tell me how the fuck the season ended, but you ain't seen them together not once. He couldn't make it to the Grammy. She couldn't make it to anything, but she could make it to the Super Bowl. Kiss my ass. And somebody said, has anybody seen Caitlyn actually smile at this man, hold hands with him? Because I remember draft night. Where was he at?
Yeah.
Because we know that especially your number one overall, that moment, I don't care what gender you are. Has this man been to the game? Like,
and here's the thing.
Where's he at with your jersey on?
He's obviously racist and homophobic based on the stuff he's been retweeting, right? And if she manages to build real relationships in the league, she's not going to want to put up with that. I don't understand why she's not shutting it down. Granted,
because she agrees with it. She believes it. Just like there's footage of her, like the WNBA teams coming out the tunnel at some of the best times. You see the camaraderie, you see the genuine friendships. Like they got music playing, they have handshakes, they have dances.
Yeah.
Caitlyn's walking right past it, and her fans are like, "Oh, she's concentrating." And you think these women aren't? What is she concentrating on? Giving every team she plays against 15 points off the rip from her turnovers? What is she concentrating on? Being 50th out of 150 players on anything? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it just floors me because every time somebody starts with she should be on the Olympic team, I'm like, and so should Enrique. Which Enrique should not. She wasn't selected. There's a reason, right?
And they're killing me with this. Well, they need marketing. The Olympics does not need fucking marketing.
They don't need her.
So much. She's building the league. No, she's not. You mediocre motherfuckers are watching specifically for Caitlyn. You're not watching other teams. You don't understand how the fucking play that. Yeah, he said Caitlyn looks like Screech from Ghostbusters. But I'm like, y'all aren't watching like, come on. Just like
and here's the thing, right?
Like who was it? Sharapova. Remember Sharapova in tennis? Nobody was like, oh, make her the face of tennis, because people knew her fans were watching just for her because she was pretty. She couldn't win shit. Nope. Okay, they kept putting her in shit because they knew a bunch of horny ass men.
They wanted her to be Chris Everett so bad.
And she wasn't, but nobody was like, oh yeah, no, because they knew her fans were her fans. They weren't fans of the game. And that is fine. That is because as much as I love Dennis Rodman as a player, and he did have the stats to back up him being eccentric, but there were people who were just Dennis Rodman fans. Yep. They couldn't tell you anybody else in the league. They couldn't tell you no stats. They showed up to see him. Cool, fine. People knew that. It was fine. And it is okay if you just like that one player. Michael Jordan had that effect, where there were people who were not NBA fans. Shaq had that effect. There were people who just wanted it. And then let's not forget Penny Hardaway. And
Penny, little Penny, remember that?
Right. And there were people, that's all they wanted. And then you had Grandmama. Like, that's all they wanted. They didn't want the whole kit and caboodle. That is fine. That doesn't grow the league. That grows that person. Because there were even people
that team.
Right. Because just like Muggsy Bogues, there were people who just like Muggsy.
Yep. And here's the interesting thing to me is, I totally just lost my thought. Go ahead. I don't know where it went. It'll show up like at 3 a.m.
But it's like, it is okay just to have, like, okay, Danica Patrick, horrible NASCAR driver.
Terrible
her fans,
person.
Her fans were just her fans. That's it.
She did
nobody
GoDaddy ads, the super pussy ones, and now she's like so conservative.
Yeah, nobody in NASCAR was like, she's gonna drive up ticket sales.
A real driver.
No, and most of her fans weren't even paying to go to the events. They just watched her on TV.
Yep.
Just like Caitlin Clark fans aren't going to the fucking games.
Why? Because the Fevers.
Not only that, they suck, but they know Caitlyn sucks.
Yeah. And like I said, could she? I'm not
They're
giving benefit
they're
of the
going
doubt,
to defend her
but
when
if
they
she
can
does
when they can
start
chop up the
shutting it
videos.
down and stoking that fire within herself to get better, if she keeps just encouraging and accepting all this shit, she's done for. I give her 3 years maybe in the league. Maybe.
Every time there's a great white hope, a great white hype, they disappear. They have 2 or 3 failed,
And before anybody
epically
says
failed.
Larry Bird was never the great white hope.
Larry Bird was just friends
shut
with a
this
bunch of
thing-
people.
He put this shit. He would shut this shit down.
Yeah, and Larry Bird just became friends with a bunch of people, and that's what made him marketable. Like his friendship with Michael Jordan, that's what
Mhm.
made him marketable, and that's what made like the McDonald's commercials so memorable, because they based those commercials off of what these men were doing, like placing bets with each other, like 2 little kids.
Because Larry Bird was the elder statesman when Jordan came into the league. He was already been there a while, right?
Yeah, and Bird was like, "I bet you can't do this," and Jordan like, "I
And
bet you
when
can't."
they say they're picking on Caitlyn because she's white and she's not gay, do you remember the All-Star game where they froze out Michael Jordan his rookie year?
Let's not forget that when Michael Jordan got pissed off at the Detroit Pistons,
Yep.
and nobody from the Pistons made the Nationals team.
Yep. But they froze Jordan out of his rookie All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
Or, this is a rookie thing. This is a don't come in here thinking you know everything thing.
And that's with every sport. If you go in there acting like you, like, come on, and it even goes beyond rookie, because Chad Ochocinco, love you, boy. Okay,
yeah.
I love you. But when he came to my precious Cincinnati Bengals and he didn't realize how to tone it down and humble himself, baby, they reminded him real quick.
Yep.
You may not be new to the league, but you new around here.
Mm-hmm.
You new around here. You better go sit in the corner.
Yep.
You better go sit in the corner. Professional sports will humble you real quick, because this is no longer, oh, this is something for me to do so it looks good on my college application. This is no longer is something for me to do because I look good in the uniform. This is my bread and butter, and this is what I have worked 20, 30, 40 years to accomplish.
In every game, you're going up against what would equate to the All-Star team in college, right?
Ooh, now that's a word. When Caitlyn can do what Cheryl Miller did, who was way better than her brother Red. Yep, exactly.
Cheryl was amazing. And look, I love Billie Jean King. She did a whole lot of good things. Can she please not tell team athletes to shut up and play ball the way she's doing? And it's, I want to scream every time. It's like, first of all, you're an individual athlete
who didn't shut up and just play. Because when a man,
who played fucking Bobby Riggs,
right? Because when a man said, "You can't do it the right way, you can't do it like I do," she said, "Fuck your life, I bet you I can."
Mm-hmm. Beat his ass on national TV. Back when tennis wasn't on in prime time on national TV.
I'm just like, you.
But that mentality of,
first of all, I wish something would stop within the United States. Everybody's proud of a first until they put themselves in the same category as that first. Then they want to be the only one known for it. They don't want anybody to come behind them and do it. And it's like, you had to come behind somebody.
And when you show that somebody came before them, they're like, yeah, but no, I'm left-handed. Right? They find this tiny little difference. No, I have long hair.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same. Look, there's nothing new under the sun. We've all been here over and over again, right? All of humanity. Why aren't we learning some shit? Let's learn some shit. Let's do some things different. And
Yeah,
that's
because the amount of people that are like that always tell me like, "Oh, you're so humble because you said that." No, that's not humble. That's honest.
Yeah.
If you saw me do it, and I'm the first person you saw do it, and I tell you, "Hey, I'm not the first that did it. This person, this person, this person did it. Go check them out." Or this person does it also. That's not humility. That's honesty.
Yes, when I had my bigger account, my stuff before I gave it away, got out there more, I would constantly get, "Oh, I heard so and so say this," or "I heard so and so say this," or so. I'm like, yeah, nothing I say is completely original. I thought of it from listening to somebody. I don't tend to regurgitate what somebody says, but somebody started me thinking to process this on down the road. It's come on. And I'm still okay. 9th world title, Simone Biles, for a gymnast. 9th world title. That's still hot.
Yeah, because most gymnasts aren't going to their third or fourth Olympics. Most gymnasts
No.
aren't getting to, because it's a short-lived career.
Mhm.
Just like figure skaters. They just expect you, "Oh, you hit 18, you're done. We'll never see you again."
Yeah.
And it's like, stop making people geriatric, because these are sports and talents that take a lifetime
Yep.
to master. And then you want somebody to you give up
Who's her
all of
husband?
their childhood,
Who
go
is
one
Simone Biles'
time.
husband?
Simone Biles' husband. I mean, he plays football, but we
Yeah.
all collectively agreed that his name is Simone Biles' husband.
Okay,
Ain't
good.
nobody learned his name.
I'm good for that. But when he said he didn't know who she was, and everybody got really mad because we don't celebrate female individual athletes.
Yeah, but see, we got mad at him because he congratulated Gabby Douglas.
Oh well, okay. So there's more
So
to
we
it than I
knew
know.
that he was watching it. But here's the thing. He gets on our nerves, and so does Miranda, aka Raven Simone. I know y'all done called her Raven Simone for years, but she came out and said that her name is actually Raven Simone.
Okay.
Kind of upset that nobody noticed the accent mark, but till now. But
I
how
always
her
did, but
wife,
I was like, well,
yeah, how her wife keeps saying, "Oh, I
he
didn't know who she was." But
before he met her.
first of all, sweetheart, now I can believe, because everybody didn't have Disney Channel, and there were times where when it was the Disney Channel, it was a premium channel.
Yep.
There were nothing about it was free. You had to have it. If you didn't have the big dish that took up half your yard, you for the longest time you weren't getting it, because it wasn't a cable channel.
Yeah.
It was premium, like you had to have the satellite. So I can get that part. But she was on the Cosby Show, and I'm like, okay, she ain't black. Maybe she didn't have no black friends, and she didn't see her on the Cosby Show first. But Raven had albums, music videos, on tour. Like, she was a gimmick child.
Yep.
You didn't see her. Okay, cool. But y'all got married after her stint as a co-host on The View. And Raven said a bunch of controversial stuff that she was on the evening news damn near every day. So that's where I was like, skirt, I can believe you may not have known who she was as a child, but as a
you didn't know the
grown-ass
totality
adult,
of who she was, but you knew who she was.
right? Because even one of her co-hosts on The View, and I'm not an avid View watcher, I see clips here and there.
No, but can we
I
please just
saw
can I punch Joy Bear?
Bayhart. Oh yeah. But here's and hanging with Mr. Cooper. I forgot about that, Jake. Raven has been on so much stuff. I'm sorry, I can't keep up with everything that she's done over the years. I admit it. She is like Keke Palmer. They are some working women, okay?
Yep.
And they're so diverse with writing, producing, directing, acting, singing. I can't keep up. I admit it, and I'm not a pop culture girly. But even one of her co-hosts, because I saw the clip. Actually, I was in the lobby of it waiting for a doctor's appointment, and I caught it because they had The View on, where she was talking about she really doesn't like to do autographs. She prefers to do pictures because people have her sign so much that her hand cramps up.
Yeah.
And one of her co-hosts was like, "You're that popular?" That I can get, because everybody doesn't like the same stuff. But like I said, Raven, especially when Raven said she didn't want to be considered black.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was, it was in print, it was on. And for me not to do pop culture at all, and I'm always I'm always slow to the come up when it comes to like people being problematic. Pam knows this because Pam and Arena have to fill me in a lot.
I'm
Like, girl,
not. I know pop culture because my kids inform me of
yeah,
stuff.
but you know how many times you and Arena are like, this person is problematic. Please, look at this, and you may not.
We just admit that.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't know. I'm so, and so it's like if I know about this,
Yeah, everybody knows about it. Can we just admit Kim Kardashian is a terrible white mom?
Kim Kardashian is the epitome of when we say that a biracial child has a white mother.
Yeah. Why would you take your uncoached, right? I don't know about her talent level. God only knows because
she's a visual artist.
Yeah. And the kids who do Broadway have been doing it for years and years and years and years. But on top of that, to redesign her costume and make her look like a toddler in a hoodie sweat set.
They're doing any and everything to sell out these kids
and humiliate
for
her,
the next generation
out front to take the hits.
And I think this is why Kim is causing issues with her older sister, because when her
I don't watch the show, so I have.
Oh, I don't watch the show. This is stuff that I saw unfolding when I got sick a couple months ago, and I was on bed rest. I was just scrolling through the internet because can't sleep. You just look for stuff. But I can't think of. Wait a minute, who's the oldest? I don't know. Oh, okay, Courtney? Okay, Courtney. Courtney's kids, the older kids. I guess they were spending some time.
She just had with Travis Barker, I think.
Oh, she had. Okay, well, I know two are either
they're teenagers
or teenagers. Okay, because I know there's I don't know if that's her kid or not because they looked younger, but they were at her house, so I don't know. But the two oldest, they look exactly like her. I know the two that I'm talking about. They were hanging out with Northwest, and Northwest, I guess, wasn't really on camera and was saying no about stuff and being vocal about wanting to just do her paintings and her artwork.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, Kim and Courtney had a falling out that was real stupid, and Kim was acting like it was the end of the world. And I'm like, yeah, you're trying to pimp your kids out, especially your oldest daughter, like your mom did you, to keep the brand deals coming and keep everything up. And because you were the face of the family, you feel like your firstborn should be the face of the family as well. But your mama's firstborn isn't the face of the family. Courtney said, fuck you. I'm going to do my life how I want to do it. And I'm not sucking and fucking for no paycheck. I think that the more this right here is going to cause Northwest to try to spend more time with her cousins who are being very vocal. And this is why you're not seeing them on the shows. You're not seeing them on the internet so much because they're making it known. We ain't for the shit. We see what
like
y'all
their brother did, like the Kardashians.
Yeah, because these kids, as they're becoming teenagers, they're on the internet. They can research and they're like, oh,
he's 45 and just had a baby. Because she got remarried and wanted to have a kid with Travis Barker from Blink-182. I didn't.
All righty. Well, I was yesterday years old when I found out that Cameron Diaz got married and had a baby. I just thought she retired. Yeah. I guess her and what's Lionel Richie's daughter's name?
The one that used to be friends with Paris Hilton.
Yeah, well, they're sister-in-laws. They're married to brothers.
Yeah, Travis Barker's brother, right?
I don't know. No, their last name is Maddox.
Oh, that's right. Good Charlotte, not Blink-182.
Maddox. I think it's Maddox. I think. I don't know.
But
anyway. I just realized that she had a baby and got married. I just thought she had retired. And the person who told me was laughing their ass off. Yeah, Nicole, that's what. But they were laughing their ass off at me like, you didn't know she had. I didn't know she had a baby. I just thought she retired. Because sometimes people are like, hey, I made enough money or I've done all the projects I want to do, and they go off and retire. That's what I thought. I didn't think anything bad. I didn't like Uma Thurman. You see her every once in a while. There's a project that she says
She
like,
really
"Oh,
wants
I
to
never."
do.
Yeah, she's like, "I never got a chance to do something like this. I'm going to do it." But Reese
Yeah.
Witherspoon is another one. She'll
Yeah.
go into semi-retirement and then pop back up. So I thought that's what it was. I mean, they done got to that status. I would do the same thing.
Yeah. I would not want to be out there, grinding away and doing a movie every year. And
I was like, it made perfect sense to me. Like, okay.
can we also say South Park should be canceled by now? Can we just all agree on that? It should be over.
South Park has confused me since South Park came into. Well, first of all, I did not even know South Park existed until y'all. Please don't cancel me. Don't cancel me. Y'all know I get buried in research. South Park was around for like 4 years before I knew South Park existed.
I learned about South Park before South Park was a TV show, when it was the short that they made for college of Santa Claus versus Jesus, the original one. And it made the rounds because I worked in tech, and it made the rounds in the office, and it was hilarious and all kinds of wrong. And then I didn't hear anything about it until it had been on for a couple of years.
See, people were telling me like, oh, well, you didn't catch the shorts when you were going to offices. I can't hear. And a lot of times, so I can stay focused on work and get it done and leave, I'll take my hearing aids out.
Yeah.
So somebody could come up and be like, oh, take a look at this. And usually I just go and keep working. And they never pay attention to the fact that I've just gone, I don't know what they fucking said. I looked at shit. I don't know. But when I finally, I was like, and it was sad because my kids were the ones that told me about South Park, because there was a joke that they wanted me to explain to them. And I'm like, where did you hear this joke?
I learned about that original episode of the one I told you that was not a TV show of South Park. At the same time, I learned about Tripping the Rift, which I actually thought Tripping the Rift was funnier.
Yeah, I was like, but I also learned about the Boondocks from my kids too. You know what? Who was really raising who in that household? Every time I think back, I'm like, that is probably why they track my location now. This is why they be putting me on punishment. They think I'm their child.
I've gotten 2 already. That's like, I know you're in your bedroom. Are you still on the podcast? It's like, how do you know like that? I can see you.
Oh, well, we are at the last 3 minutes. So your final thoughts?
I don't know. I'm just, white people need to reconnect with who they are rather than trying to redefine everything else as white. Right? Go be Irish. Go be German. Go be Scotch Irish. Go be Southern. Go be a Pennsylvanian. Go be a graduate from this college or that college. None of those things are white exclusive, right? Find your community. Find where you want to fit. Find something that is yours. To find your identity and heal, for fuck's sake. Bridgerton. Yes, go watch Bridgerton.
Okay, first of all, I know that Bridgerton exists, cousin. Jesus.
My son is so invested in that show now.
I'm invested in the Bridgerton coffee creamer. That's what I'm invested in.
What? Is it good?
It's very good. I didn't even know that they had it until Babe was putting it in his coffee. And I was like, oh, and I had some once because I tend to use oat milk creamer or the Chobani Greek yogurt creamer.
Yep.
But then I ran out because I tend to buy smaller bottles because I'm usually here for a set period of time.
Yeah.
And then I extended my stay and I was out of creamer, so I had to use some of his. And I was like, oh, this is good.
The other one is the cold foam. Like, it's like the whipped cream can, but it's cold foam, so it's soft. Apparently it's really good too.
What? We're wrapping up now. He just came in singing. I was so distracted. What? Oh, I'm sorry.
I love you guys. I love you.
Y'all can't see, but this whole side of the bed that's his is full of food. What the? Did you have coffee?
No, what kind of this?
Coffee sounds really good.
Turkey cheese on ciabatta with banana peppers, cucumbers. I can't remember all that was on it, but it was too big. I have the green screen up. They can't see. You have to come over on this side.
They can see my head going in and out.
Yeah,
Okay,
I can see your head.
that looks. This is not OnlyFans. I'm gonna get paid.
Wait a minute. Where's the $5? Let me send you $5.
Okay. Now, what was I gonna say? Well, I still need
Y'all
to start.
send topic ideas for next week.
Yes, topic ideas, and don't send the same video 50 million times. Just send the topic, okay? Y'all traumatized me today. Because I was trying hard, like, to count it, like, whole clipboard, like, trying to get it down. I guess my final thoughts. Look yourself in the mirror, and in all honesty, say I was wrong.
Yeah.
And start your day from that. Accept that we've all been wrong and we're all going to be wrong, and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is okay. You're not gonna spontaneously combust, okay?
Nope.
So
it's okay to be wrong. It's what you do with it that matters.
Jesus Christ. I have this green screen up if y'all could just oh my what is wrong with you? Jesus.
I love you, Taz. Do we need to let you go?
Stop. I'm right at the edge of this bed. I gotta stop before I fall off.
Hang on.
You all right? Yeah.
Hold on.
I got to see Beavis on the windowsill. I can't pick Beavis up.
Okay, there we go. I took the green screen off. Oh, hey,
There's
Beavis. Hey, Beavis. There he is.
Hi. This is Butthead. She's very sweet.
Oh, hi, Butthead. Oh, look at the cats. We're cat approved. Whoop, whoop.
I would bring Beavis, but she would lose her shit for 2 days and be in the closet.
Oh, yeah.
She does not like it.
We don't need to be trapped in the closet again. But as always, like I said, you can send it to me, you can send it to Pam. Any show suggestions, any videos on anything that you want us to discuss. Other than that, wait a minute. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday.
Yep.
We may do no, actually I will be doing a bonus live on TikTok to finish chapter 3 of Lies About Black People. Because that chapter was a little bit longer and I didn't want to keep people on the live for 4 hours.
You might well do that on Tuesday or whatever they usually do that.
Well, anytime you want to get together.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just informed we're shenaning tomorrow.
We shenaning all fucking day.
We're shenaning all day. Okay, so I can't get in trouble because I'm going to be supervised and shenaning.
We're going to be shenaning and alive too.
We're going to be shenaning and a lot. Okay. All righty. Well,
I will probably drop in and see y'all.
Definitely. Well, as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. We will see y'all later.
Love you guys. Bye.
See you.